Hi guys, my name is McNee. I'm currently studying for a PhD in analytical chemistry at the University of Aberdeen. Analytical chemists are kind of like the auditors of the chemistry world. We don't really care about making anything new or changing things. What we really want to do is find out exactly what is there and how much of it there is. And this can be incredibly difficult sometimes, especially when you're dealing with something from the environment or from a living system, say, where there's thousands or tens of thousands of different compounds all running around and mucking into each other at the same time. How do you find out exactly one compound in all of this and quantify how much of it there is? And over the years we've come up with some very interesting techniques for doing this. And it's one of these techniques, or a subset of these techniques, that I'd like to talk to you about today, called chromatography. And first I'd like to talk to you about using a metaphor. Let's say one day a whole bunch of your friends come round to your house, but something terrible has happened. They all look completely different. How do you tell which one is which? How do you tell which one is Stephen or Clara or Craig? That's right, you make them run a race. The race metaphor is going to get a little bit strange, but work with me on this. You make them run a race. And those of your friends who are fast and nimble will finish first. Those of your friends who are slow and lazy will finish last. But your experiment is confounded. Your friends are still friends with each other. They want to run together. They all finish at the same time. It doesn't work at all. Your results are terrible. So you add an additional variable. At the side of the race, as they're getting ready to run, you position someone giving out slices of delicious chocolate cake. Those of your friends who love chocolate cake will stop and have several pieces and finish last. Those of your friends who are partial to chocolate cake will stop and have several bites, come in the middle. Those of your friends who don't care about chocolate cake at all, the monsters, will finish first. You have separated your friends by their love of chocolate cake. Chromatography works in exactly the same way, not with chocolate cake and races. What you do is you take your sample, your mixed group of compounds, and you put it in something that is free and easy to move, like a liquid or a gas. And then you force this mixture through something that is very, very solid and stationary, like a solid. And then your compounds separate themselves depending upon their chemical preferences for whether they want to be with the liquid, the mobile phase, or whether they want to be with the stationary phase. Because chemicals have preferences just like we do. One of the ways that we can do this is with polarity. This is the idea that some compounds have a very, very slightly negatively charged end and a very slightly positively charged end. Water, for instance, is a very, very polar solvent. If you dissolve your sample in water, those compounds that are very, very polar will want to hang out with the water and will finish first. If your stationary phase is something very, very non-polar, something very, very oily or fatty with lots of carbons, the non-polar molecules will stop every now and then, hang out with the stationary phase. Then we join the water, then stop again and hang out with the stationary phase. And this way you're able to separate your sample basis on the polarity. And there are other ways you can do this, using charge or mass. Over the years, we've been using chromatography for several decades.
Sorry, I was...
Where you can run one chromatographic separation and then another one again, so that your separated sample gets separated again on a different set of preferences. In this way, you can take an incredibly complicated sample, like something from the environment or life, and turn it into a procession of bands of compounds that can easily separate and identify. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you chromatography.